Hello, today we're going to discuss audience, purpose, and genre, its importance to you as a reader and a writer. First, what is audience? Audience means the group of people whom we want to read our writing. Not just anybody, we write for a specific group of people in mind. For example, when you write on Facebook, you're writing for your friends and family, and that applies to any kind of writing. There's an intended audience in mind whenever we write something. And it's a conversation between the reader and the writer. And there's this thesis in some kinds of writing that implies a counter-argument, meaning I'm arguing some sort of question, I'm presenting an idea, and I'm, giving an opinion about something, which means that there is some overarching question being asked by the writer to the reader. So that's where this conversation idea comes into play. And it's a joint venture to seek meaning, meaning that the writer is taking the reader on this adventure to kind of make sense of their topic through examples and outside sources and putting together of information to come to some sort of agreement about the topic. And all of this is based on Kenneth Burke's parlor metaphor. I want you to pause the video here and go to see these two YouTube videos that explain what this means and how reading and writing is a conversation. Let's talk about the different kinds of audiences that we have. The first one is what we call a naive audience, meaning that they are unfamiliar with your topic, and it is your job to explain to them as the expert what your topic is, to define key terms for them, and this requires a lot of explanation. And you'll learn a little later on that there are certain kinds of grammatical themes attached to this idea of having a naive audience. Usually adjective clauses are most prevalent in this kind of audience because you're explaining and defining so many terms and ideas. There's the puzzled audience with skeptical tendencies where you're on an equal status, meaning you're not the expert here, but it is your job to present an analysis, a solution to a problem, looking at both sides of an argument and, coming to some sort of endpoint where you answer a lot of the reader's skepticism through the counter-arguments, the counter-views that there are about your topic. And the last one is a resistant or hostile audience, where you are writing for someone who clearly opposes your idea and you have to be very argumentative and very persuasive. Now, why do these matter? Audience matters because the type of audience you have will influence your language choices, and we'll explore that a little bit later on in the semester. But keep in mind that these choices are connected to what you learn in your language analysis class. And it also determines what you say and how you say it. So very important to keep your intended audience in mind every time that you write. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is purpose. And why, when we write with a purpose. Even in this class, okay, you're writing because I'm asking you to, but there's a bigger purpose for everything that you write. Whether it's to inform, to explain, to analyze an idea, to persuade somebody, to reflect on something, to entertain me with like a newspaper, magazine article. And something to think in mind as you're reading is, what does the author hope to change about the reader's thinking? Why did they write this? And you should ask yourself these questions too as a writer. Before my paper, what do my readers think? And then after my paper, what do I want them to think or know? All right, let's talk about genre, because all of this is connected to genre. Genre is a type of writing with clear structure, design, approach, and rhetoric. And every conversation you enter into has specific guidelines based on the genre that readers expect. If I'm reading a magazine article, I have certain expectations. Just like if I'm going to read a newspaper article, there are certain expectations. And this applies to your majors as well. Every major has their own genre. And these are the guidelines that must be followed if you wish to enter that conversation, if you wish to enter the parlor and be able to share ideas with others in your field. You need to know what those expectations are. And the same applies to internet memes. What if I told you memes are a new digital genre? There are specific guidelines for those too. They follow a certain style that make them a meme. So you need to learn genre possibilities, limits, constraints, and expectations. And here are 5 categories ranging from very open form to very closed form. And what that means is that if we take an example of, say, the resume, which is in a very closed form, there are very clear limits and expectations when employers read your resume as to what you should include on it, how it should be formatted, how long it should be. And then on the other side of the spectrum, on the very open form, taking, like, for example, a blog, there's not as many constraints. It's more open to say what you want to say, how you want to say it. So broad spectrum of the scale. And then you have a couple things in between, like abstracts, which we'll look at in academic writing, and letters to the editor, magazines, articles, newspaper articles, things like that. And all this means is that when you're in a very open, on the very open side of things, it's unpredictable. You're trying to heighten or deepen a problem, very human connection. It's very personal. It's very inquisitive and reflective. Then on the opposite side is what we call closed form, which has, again, those very rigid expectations that I'm going to see a clear thesis in your introduction, an easy to follow structure. I'm going to see paragraphs with clear topic sentences. I'm going to see clear transitions, linked sentences. It's easy for my reader to read. And the best example of this is the 5-paragraph essay, which is really just a guideline that you will not write in this class. There will be no 5-paragraph essay. A lot of the expectations of the essay will be there, but the 5-paragraph essay is used just to teach you these skills. But these skills are what you're going to transfer to your academic writing in this class and beyond this class as well. So why do we care? Well, it's important that you're able to move from discourse to discourse smoothly, meaning from conversation to conversation. Whether it's a conversation in your major or in another kind of academic class, and in this class, that you're able to join the conversation so your reader can understand what you're trying to convey. And then you can transfer all these skills to your academic classes. But as a reader, it's important that you understand what a writing is doing in terms of audience purpose and genre. Who is the author writing for? Why are they writing? And what are those constraints that once you can start to understand the limits and expectations of a kind of writing, you can look for those devices as a way of pulling information more quickly. And you're going to be a more thoughtful writer if you think about who are you writing for, why are you writing, and what are the conventions that you have to follow in order to be understood. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below to be notified of new content related to writing and grammar.